Welcome to this podcast. My name is Filippa Levemark, and I created this show so that you can listen in on the sessions that I do and hope that you might benefit from it as well. Perhaps you are going through something similar, or maybe someone close to you is. And either way, I hope that you gain some insights, some new perspectives, and tools that can help you in your growth and healing journey. In this session, A felt that her self-love is tied to her body image and that she turns to food when she feels a lack of male attention. Her desire is to not have these issues take up mental energy anymore. Welcome to listen in on our conversation, where she manages to find the root cause of why she seeks outside for attention and love, and how she manages to transmute the old pain into peace and relaxation. So what would you like help with today?
I find that the love to myself depends a lot on my body image. And I have the tendency to turn into food when there is no male presence in my life. And this is something that runs in my family. And there's a lot of shame and guilt. I find it very hard to use discipline in this area. And it's something that I would really like to get over and done with. It takes a lot of my mental energy, if not other energies as well.
So what do you feel right now when you think about self-love and body image?
I feel disappointment because with all I know, I should be able to apply my knowledge, but there's something on an emotional level or old patterns that are quite anchored there. And I shouldn't, my body, the way I feel towards my body should not be a factor where my self-love should depend from. I also know what I should be doing, what I could be doing, but it's a very complicated subject for me.
So let's start with the disappointment, since that's what came first. Can we tune in a little bit to the disappointment?
Yeah.
Where do you feel this in your body?
In my heart.
And what is going on in your heart in the disappointment?
It just has this heavy weight, it feels.
And when
It's like this really heavy weight in a well that when I'm strong, when I'm grounded, I find the strength to pull almost to the surface, but it's so strong that it just finds its way back down, probably not as down as it used to, but it's still down. And the disappointment is, it's like I have this unnecessary knowing or not knowing, belief that I might have to accept that I have to live with this until the end of my life. But then I also know
can I
that this
stop
is,
you there?
yeah.
Anissa, sorry.
Yeah.
So we're trying to look at the sensation here in the heart. So now you're up in the story around it, but let's come back to the actual body, in the actual heart, in the discipline. So there is some kind of heaviness here. What else is going on sensationally in the heart?
Stiffness.
Okay. So place your awareness here. You can put a hand on your heart. So disappointment is where you started, but is there any other emotion that's going on here?
Yeah.
What's
There's There's sadness,
Okay, good.
there's anger,
Good.
and there's loneliness.
Yeah. So let's start with the sadness. Is that
Yeah.
okay? Can we feel a little bit into this?
Yeah.
What does the sadness feel like in your heart?
It feels like an uninvited guest that's whose stay is not welcome anymore.
Let's just feel the sensations of it, right? So is the sadness also around the heart?
No, actually, I felt it more in my solar plexus.
Yeah, good. So put your awareness in the solar plexus.
Yeah.
And I'd like you to ask the sadness, what does it want? What does it want to tell you? What does it want to express? Is there any information here from the sadness?
I don't know if that's the right or wrong answer, but I guess you're going to redirect me. All I get is that it's necessary for my growth,
What is necessary for my growth? If you ask
my
it.
sadness. That
Yes.
this sadness is driving me to all these places where I get treasures from.
Mhm. So
But
if
it
you,
also
yeah,
feels, yeah,
no,
sorry.
go on.
It also feels like a habit.
Yeah.
Like it also feels like it doesn't belong to me. You know, it's probably served me, but I'm going to the mental again. I'm for me, feeling emotions is quite new. If anybody's listening, so I'm sorry.
That's okay.
uh,
Just stay
I've
with
always
your,
escaped. Yeah, I'm
yeah,
still
just
with
stay with your
it.
awareness in the solar plexus.
Yeah.
So as soon as we go up and we start thinking, we are not in the solar plexus, right? So
Okay.
once we go into the emotion, there might be sudden sadness, into the sensation, we are placing our awareness on the energy, if that makes sense, and trying to gain information from it, because there's a reason why it comes up. And you've already kind of found that reason, right? It's serving a purpose, but let's see if there's deeper meaning behind it. So right now, can you describe any sensations you're feeling in the solar plexus now? Is there any tension? Is there any pain or heat or pressure?
There's pressure,
Good.
uh,
What does the
and
pressure feel like?
like a mini death.
Sorry.
Like it's taking away life force from me.
Okay. So is it like a stagnated energy, or is it a heavy energy?
It's a stagnated energy.
Very good. So can we ask this energy what it wants, if it has any information? Since there was loneliness in the heart, is there anything related to I feel alone, I feel abandoned,
Unloved.
unloved? Good. I feel unloved. When did you start feeling that feeling?
From a young kid, very young age.
Like 2 or 3?
Yeah.
Okay.
I actually rejected my mom from a very young age.
Okay. From that feeling?
Was the question, is it from that feeling?
When you said you rejected your mother around that
Yeah.
age, was it because you felt unloved that you rejected her? Or did some event happen which made you feel completely unsafe with her? What was the reason for that?
I'm pretty sure I was in love with my dad.
Okay.
And my mom was, I mean, I don't know. I can only assume. But let's say I rejected her because I felt she was too strict and because she was like competition. So me pulling away from her created distance and confusion from her towards me as well.
Yeah. And sorry, I'm just getting this image that if your mother was seeking love from the masculine, this is a pattern in you, and she has a child, which potentially is the biggest source for love, and suddenly the child is more with the masculine. that sense of loneliness that she had, what she had already before she had you, way before that could be just relevant somehow.
Absolutely.
So can we talk a little bit to that child, that 2-year-old?
Yeah.
So you had this feeling of being unloved. Is that when the feelings came back to you? Is that still relevant, or was there something else you feel? Sometimes it's hard to access memories, right? But since that came up to you, when did you start feeling you were unloved?
I don't know if this is relevant or mental, but I've done through breath work, I realized that this came from when I was actually in her belly.
Yeah.
Because she realized that she says this happened later, but I'm convinced it was then. She realized her mom had cancer while she was pregnant. So there was the guilt came there as well, as in, ooh, is this the right time for me to be there? Am I too much pressure?
Yeah.
And there was probably a lot of stress around, ooh, how am I gonna look after this child?
Yeah. And you could sense that, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's go there as your adult self.
Mm.
You can even go into the womb.
Mm.
You can also imagine yourself being outside of the womb with your mother. And I'd like you to feel the fetus itself, the small you. So what are you feeling here in this moment as a baby, as a fetus?
Fear.
Yeah. Fear of not being wanted, not belonging.
Fear of my needs not being met.
Yeah. Yeah, beautiful. How can I take care of myself if I'm not taken care of? So you can
Or are
imagine. Yeah.
they're not ready for me?
Yeah, they're not ready for me.
I'm too much. I'm not enough. All these insecurities.
Yeah. I'm too much to handle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Story of my life.
Yeah, well, it's not a coincidence
Mm-mm.
if that was going on for your mother, that you had developed those beliefs and then manifested that reality, right?
Yeah.
So I'd just like you to comfort the child as an adult, and knowing that you can mother yourself as a child and just say, I will take care of you. I'm here for you. You're
We
not
will
too
figure it
much.
out.
Hmm?
We will figure everything out.
Yeah,
Everything's
well,
gonna work out.
everything's going to work out. You're very welcome. I want you to come into this world. Mm.
Might not love her,
Yeah.
but I don't know. I may have distorted memories, or may have a wrong filter, or maybe what I felt was so imprinted that I wasn't receptive to her efforts and affection. But hearing it from you made me realize how much I need to hear that.
Yeah.
And this is why I became a pleaser. Well, I'm also a Libra.
Yeah. So the child in the womb still carries consciousness,
Mm,
right? And it's still very much you. It's you coming into this realm. And part of being human is having caretakers. So coming into this realm and immediately sensing that your caretaker might not be able to do her job, I was going to say, but to fill that role for you.
mm,
You are entering into this world with fear. And what you needed to hear in that moment are, these words. You needed to feel that someone wanted you to come to this side, that it was worth to come here.
and that I'm welcome.
Yeah. And from a higher perspective,
Mm.
you
Chose.
you chose to be here, and it's not an easy task to come here. So you also succeeded. You managed. Yeah. So how is she feeling now, the fetus? You can hold her. You can hold the belly. You can be inside the womb. You can.
I'm actually my hand is on the belly, and her nervous system is starting to feel calm.
Yeah. Knowing that, the future wants her.
Yeah.
Wants her to exist. Yeah. And what is then going on now in the solar plexus or the heart, the body?
The stiffness is still there.
So
The stiffness is still there.
in the solar plexus.
Yeah.
Yeah. So bring your awareness back there
Mm.
into the stiffness. What's going on emotionally in the stiffness? Is there any emotions there?
I know it's gonna sound contradictory, and it's not an emotion, but the word is emptiness, like vacío.
Yeah.
So
Good.
it's crazy how emptiness and a stiffness can coexist, no? Because
Yeah. Beautiful. So let's explore emptiness.
yeah.
Sometimes emptiness is a emotion, like a numbness almost.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, it's easy to think that it doesn't exist because it's empty, right? But actually what exists is this kind of numbness, right? This kind of almost like despair, like behind the numbness, there can be despair, right?
Mm.
There can be something, hopelessness, right? These things can be related. I'm not saying that that's the case for you, but in this emptiness, what feels empty? What is it that feels empty?
Well, it's this hopelessness you mentioned,
Good.
because I'm very, like, I have a very high confidence in myself in terms of, doing and moving forward with doing stuff in my life, let's put it like this. But in terms of belonging and love, this is where the hopelessness comes. I think I've tried and tried and tried and tried, and then I started tapping into the magnetism, but yet.
Yeah. So let's look at the hopelessness.
Yeah.
Can you first kind of just connect to it and describe how does it feel like in the body? Does it occupy the solar plexus? Does it occupy a larger space? Is it in the belly? What does it feel like in your body?
hopelessness feels like a tension that spreads from the core of my body, whether it's heart, solar plexus, or spine outwards. And it, it creates tension, whether it's in my back,
Okay.
in my chest area. It's like a
It's like
like a
sticky
tree
energy.
that has branches, you know?
Yeah. Beautiful. So let's just connect to this energy and ask it, when did it start to be active in you?
I'd say when my sister came to the world, I think.
Mhm. And what was going on for you then? How old were you?
I was 5.
Hmm? So,
I felt a lot of jealousy.
okay, good. So, can we meet that 5-year-old in the jealousy?
Yeah.
What does that 5-year-old want to say to you? Could be about the jealousy, obviously.
What about me?
What about me?
What about me?
Yeah.
I barely get what I need now. Now I'm going to get even less.
Yeah. What did she need that she didn't get?
Definitely more affection.
Yeah. Can you step in now into that memory and give her that affection? So you can see it's almost like you're caretaking your own child. It can be, I'm sorry that your parents couldn't give you love and affection that you deserved. I love you. I see you. I feel you. You can hug her. You can play with her. You can listen to her. Just know that this jealousy was coming from a place that your 5-year-old really wanted love and affection. So the jealousy acted as a cue for her to understand that that's what she wanted and needed.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
What comes up is guilt. What comes up is she and he were trying, and I know I'm going to the head. They did the best they could, and there was probably some resistance from me. So if they ever listen, I never want them to feel like I'm blaming them, because I know that I chose this lesson. So
Yeah. So we can have, as children, needs that are not being met by our parents. And it doesn't mean that our parents are bad.
yeah.
It never means that. But in this case, as a 5-year-old, you had unmet needs.
Yeah.
And it might be that they did not have the capacity to meet your needs. They could be tired, they could have their own issues, they could have not worked out things within themselves, right?
Yeah.
So when we notice that we feel bad because someone hasn't met our needs, it has not so much to do with blaming them or making them wrong. But not acknowledging that we had needs that weren't being met is not the way to go.
Thank you.
Right?
Thank
Meeting
you.
our own needs and asking people who are capable of meeting our own needs is usually the healthy way to go.
I actually didn't have my needs met at home nor at preschool.
Yeah. Because most of us grew up in dysfunctional families, in school systems and educational systems that were not designed for our well-being and our thriving. And most of our parents grew up the same way. So they didn't have the tools and resources for this.
Mm.
Right? So What does your 5-year-old with jealousy in that situation, what does she feel now that she has your attention?
She's shining. She feels hope.
Yeah.
She
Beautiful.
feels connection.
Yeah. Good.
She feels sure.
Yeah. You can let her know, whenever she's feeling a lack of attention or a jealousy because someone else is getting loved and she isn't, that you're there always. Might take you time to listen, right? Because sometimes you don't have the capacity to meet your own needs, right? But you're there for her in the capacity that you can be there. So let's come back to the solar plexus.
Yeah.
What is going on in there right now, in the chest?
It's relaxed.
Good. And what about the rest of the body? What's going on?
I mean, now I feel totally relaxed.
Good. Perfect. So let's just understand what has happened, right? So you came in with body image, eating. Do you feel like you're eating to fill a void, craving masculine attention?
Yeah.
So what was actually going on is a feeling of disconnect to self.
Mm.
And the deep-seated belief that I don't belong here. I'm not cared for here. I'm not wanted.
Not welcome here.
Yeah, and when we have had a attention deficit, a lack of attention in our life, then it's very common, especially for women, to seek attention in whatever way we can get it, even if it's minimal. As long as we get a little bit of attention, at least it's something, right? It means that we exist, that we mean something. And it's so common that we put that to mean our appearance, how we look. Like if I can only look the right way, I'll get the right attention. If I'm only beautiful enough, I'll get attention. Or if I only perform the best I can, then I will get attention. If I, it can be in appearance, it can be in our career, it can be in achievements. But whatever kind of way that we would get some kind of attention from our parents, it's kind of the strategy that we will continue to use. Does that make sense when it comes to
Added value. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I need to have added value because I'm not enough as I am.
Yeah. And then hyperfocus can come in. So I'm going to be hyper-focused on my appearance. I'm going to be hyper-focused on what I eat, or hyper-focused on this or that to perfect something so that I get this love and attention.
Yeah.
And no wonder that you were stressed about it, because it will never be fulfilled from that place. So you can run yourself to the end of your life with this stress, because it will never fulfill the deep need that you need. Because the external validation and attention is just never going to fill the void of the belief of not being good enough, right? Not belonging.
So it will never, if I continue the same way.
So the reason why you have focused on appearance, for example, or body image,
Yeah.
right, is because somewhere you got attention and love for it.
Yeah.
So because there has been a lack of attention and love in your past, you're going to subconsciously, I'm not saying that from now on that will be the case, but in the past, that was your way to get love and attention.
Absolutely.
And that might be having sex with a man, that might be putting a selfie on Instagram, that might be whatever it is today, right? It's different things that we do to get attention when we don't feel that we have connection and belonging and feel safe within ourselves. So that is what you came into the session, and then what we found was these memories of not being loved, not feeling loved, not feeling welcomed, right? And it's the same thing that when we feel disconnect, we start becoming addicted to things, and that can be food, that can be, drugs, alcohol, whatever, because we feel a sense of connection that way. It's like filling a little bit of that cup. But what you did right now is the only thing that's necessary, which is to connect to yourself. Connect to those parts, in this case, a 5-year-old and a fetus that was screaming for your attention. Like, they're the one who wants attention. Your adult self knows this, and your adult self doesn't have the same like unconscious needs for attention, because you know that you're right. You know that you're you know what I mean, that you're a divine being. But your 5-year-old doesn't.
Yeah.
Because she hasn't developed that perspective yet. And if she's still running the course in your body, then you're going to seek attention like a 5-year-old.
So how do we go from understanding, I mean, my adult self, to understanding and
Yes. So what we just did is part of it. This means whenever there is an emotion that comes up in you, that you sit with that emotion, you feel it, you love it, you see, is it from the past? If it is from the past, then usually, like, is it the inner child? Is this coming from my mother? From my father? What happened in this situation? And to be able to give yourself that attention. So when we now went back to memories, that's one way of doing it. There's plenty other ways to do things as well, but that's one way to sit with the emotion. And once you have sat with the emotions, you come back to peace. Just like you said, well, actually my body is relaxed now. That means it's not active in you right now. So you can go on with your life. But if it comes up again, then these are some tools you can use so that you come back to peace. Because when you're in connection and peace and relaxed state, you don't really have that many needs. You know what I mean? Like, it's like you feel good. You can go on with your life. You don't have this kind of hopelessness or this desperation.
Yeah.
And when there is that hopelessness and desperation, you most often than not, it's an inner child that is the desperation, because in their world, they would die unless they got that connection. So it is a desperation in that sense. It's not real today, but it was real back then.
Yeah.
Like, literally, if I don't get this attention and these needs, then I will get excluded from the tribe and I'll die. Yeah.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So how do you feel right now?
I feel good. I mean, I'm relaxed.
Yeah.
I know that and from what you say, I understand, let's put it like this, that if I'm grounded and calm, I can minimize the little fits the 5-year-olds have.
Yeah.
But then there's two questions that come to me. One is how I mean, will I be able to transmute this by repetition? And I guess I will. I just have to make a conscious effort to tune in to this emotion and connect with this 5-year-old very often. And the other one is, if this is coming from the previous generations in my family,
Sorry.
and
Yeah. Sorry.
and it's exasperated, or how do you call it, exaggerated by whatever experience as a kid, how can I heal that?
So I'm just going to answer the first question before I forget it.
Yeah.
When we look at emotions and energy, we only work with the present moment. So in this present moment, when you come into this call, there was present energy in you. And in this specific energy, there was a 5-year-old and there was a fetus.
Yeah.
You kind of already transmuted this just by meeting them and their attention. However, maybe there was a situation when you were 7 or when you were 20, right?
Yeah.
That is still active in your subconscious, which will play out in an emotion in the future. So what I say to people is, don't look at healing as if a project like you're a project that is broken that needs to be fixed, and don't look at life coming to a place where everything is blissful and happy. I mean, technically you could, but this reality is not really about that. It's about the polarity. It's about the darkness and the lightness. So you came here also to experience the contrast around things. And what I invite you to have instead of it as a perspective is that you have an ongoing relationship with yourself that is coming from a healthy place. And if you have an ongoing relationship to yourself, then just as in any relationship, there's growth. Sometimes there's a rapture. Sometimes there's a conflict, right? So you might have a conflict with a 5-year-old. You might have something went on when you were a teenager that you're now judging. And if you continuously have a healthy relationship, then you can sit with yourself and communicate to yourself and resolve the conflict. Just like you can with another person. If you look at yourself like a relationship to self, rather than a project that you somehow need to manage, then it becomes obvious to you that what is more important is that you have the tools to meet the darkness, to meet the pain when it comes, to meet the challenging emotions. And that is more important than to think, will these emotions ever come again?
Now I feel even more relaxed.
Good. And the second question, I didn't really understand. You're talking about ancestry somehow. Can you repeat?
Yes, I feel like if vanity or this and perfectionism with a body image is something, it's like a sanskar that runs in my bloodline from my ancestors.
Yeah.
But it's in my hands to kind of heal that.
Yeah.
Is there other things apart from sitting with my emotions to kind of to make this thing understand that thank you for its purpose, but this is not mine. I don't want this anymore.
Yeah. So the core of I wouldn't even say that it's vanity. It's just an insecurity. The core of the insecurity is I am not loved for who I am, and I only get love if I look a certain way.
Yeah.
So to give love regardless of how you look, regardless of how you feel, regardless of how you have performed, that is the question, that is the answer to that insecurity. And yes, it's usually that we inherit it or we pick it up in our culture, right?
Yeah.
But here is a thing that I have used when it comes to appearance that has been very helpful. And that's the fact that whenever you notice yourself having some kind of external look at yourself, know that you are already having the wrong perspective. So it's so common that we look at ourselves from outside and then put a judgment on what we see. So we look in the mirror, or we look in the camera, or we look in how we maybe other people perceive us, right? And whenever we're stuck in that, we are inherently selfish. We are obsessed with self. And whenever we are obsessed with self, we are not usually in enjoyment. We're not usually in pleasure. We're not usually in a nice place. So to know that when you have an outside perspective on yourself, it's usually because there is a conflict with self that you need to perfect yourself. Or my parents are going to perfect this, right? There's a conflict because you're cutting yourself off from your core. You're looking at yourself from outside.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that you cannot care for your parents, but to exist, to put yourself outside of yourself looking in, that state is not it's not a beneficial place to be in, because no one else will look at you the same way anyway. So the way you look at yourself isn't relevant in any kind of way. And when you're looking at yourself, you become selfish. So you're not going to be a pleasant person to be around. because it's an insecurity, right? So what helps me is to start operating in this world from a place of vibration and feeling, from a place of inner radiance. And once I associate myself with my energy, like how is my energy? How am I radiating my soul? Then the focus is more on, okay, what is fun? Okay, now I want to dance. Okay, I'll just dance. Like, how do I radiate in this dance, right?
Yeah.
Now I see another person and there's something about this person that lights me up. Okay, how can I express that? Like your focus is more on what is your inner state and how can you bring about more joy or more pleasure or more enjoyment or more love or more connection or whatever it is. And that tends to shift the perspective from looking at how I look like to how do I feel internally.
Yeah.
And if my perspective is continuously how do I feel internally, then it's like yeah, go on.
Then there's no self-sabotaging mechanisms.
No, because then you recognize that when I have this judgment towards myself, well, how do I feel inside with that judgment? Well, perhaps I feel sadness. I feel harshness within self. Oh, I have lots of harshness towards self. Okay. This is not a thing that I want to do towards myself anymore. I don't want to look at myself in this way and have this harshness because it doesn't feel good. Okay, let's sit with this harshness. Where is it coming from? Okay, I'm trying to get love and attention. So I'm trying to perfect myself. And when I don't feel that I fit into the standard of perfection, I'm going to criticize myself until I feel that I fit in. Because when I fit in, I get belonging and connection and love.
Mm.
So I understand where this judgment is coming from, but I'm choosing to come from my higher self, which is understanding energy, understanding what I came here to do. And ultimately, once you're in alignment, once you feel good, your focus isn't even on self anymore.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, what can I contribute in this world? How can I help this person? How can I
Be
make
of
this a better
service.
place? Like, it's not even on self, right? Because self is already sustained. It's already loved and cared for. It doesn't need so much attention. Yeah.
I mean, I, everything you say, I kind of practice. Now I have even more tools and I know that I'm vibration and I know that I can shine. But for example, I struggle with the menstrual cycle, no, before and during, and this is where, okay, let's try to change this perspective when I'm swollen, when I'm bloated, and and then how do I feel? Well, I feel like crap. My dopamine, my everything is low, and but I guess it all comes down to what can I do to feel better, and even sometimes a small thing, even if it's like a bit of music, a bit of dance, or whatever, makes everything go away. Because energy and vibration is everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes we have discomfort in the body, right?
Yeah.
And it's not so much like yeah, you can get into a hot bath or you can go into the ocean, you can do things for the discomfort and that's great. But to get all emotional about how the discomfort looks like, how it's perceived, right? That's when we start having an issue with it. But if you're just like, okay, I am in discomfort right now, my stomach is bloated.
Mm.
Let's find comfort. Let's make it more comfortable. And then we can shift the focus, right?
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So it's
Yeah.
skipping the self-judgment part of that.
So always going back to grounding, tuning in with how you're feeling, and kind of reparenting or self-soothing, no?
I mean, it's only one word I will say, and that is to connect to yourself. Connect
Yeah.
to your soul. In whatever shape and way you do that. Sitting with your emotions is one way of connecting. Dancing is another way of connecting. Being out in nature is another way of connecting. But connect to yourself, because in yourself, that's where you have all the answers. That's where you know how to meet your needs. That's how
Yeah.
you know what to do here in this world. You connecting to your soul is almost always the answer if you feel any kind of disconnect.
You I love how you do and what you do. it's the same as meditation. Like it's whatever connecting. It's the benefits of meditation, but people think you need to sit down and just observe the thoughts from an outside perspective. But you just made the connecting to yourself so much easier. Just listening to what you need and connecting to your soul.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so this feels pretty much like a wrap on the conversation.
Yeah.
But is there anything else that you feel you want to add or ask or comment on?
I'm good. I'm really, really good and grateful. I needed the recomposition. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Great. Have a beautiful day.
You too.
Thanks for listening to this show. If you're interested in working with me, either through a similar session like this in a longer container, or if you want to come to any of my local events in Malaga in Spain, you can click the links in the show notes or go to my website, filippalevermark.com, to find out more.